What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
Today, I'm joined with Taylor. Is it Sue, or how do you pronounce your C in that?
Yeah, it's actually just Koo. Taylor Koo.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
It's
cool,
cool. All
cool.
right.
Yeah, that's
That's just
cool.
pretty easy. All right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
pretty
that.
easy.
Yeah, it's that just reminded me about something else that's natural sounding that I learned from Vietnamese, which is yo, yo,
Hmm.
yo. It's to say cheers. It's just yo, yo, yo.
Well, you want to know something super funny? So
Mhm.
Koo in Vietnamese actually means a private part.
Oh, okay,
and
right.
and it also in Portuguese it also means the other private part. So I guess you
Hmm.
can do your own research and decide which private part we're talking about. But
Right. Well, at least it's not like Thai where they got that one where it's cooking with poo. Like that one's intense, right? I
oh,
don't know if you've seen that before, but yeah, it's a girl named
cook
Pooh.
cooking with poo, is that a person or is
That's
that
a
a
that's a cookbook, and apparently it's a restaurant and all that kind of stuff, but made
oh,
by some woman named Pooh, and so there she is smiling, and it's just like what? Yeah, but anyway, that's not why you're here. If you've never seen a chance encounter before, and you're sitting here going like, what on earth have I just dialed into? Well, I interview commercial real estate investors, and the reason is because I go through the 5 different motivations I've found that are distinct among commercial real estate investors, and I find out, well, which ones best describe the guest that I have. Then I go through the 6 different sides of the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. And you can download your own one at dandoesdeals.com. You can print it out and teach your friends and family about commercial real estate. The main purpose is going through the different roles to find out my guest's core competency so that I know and you know how they fit into this industry as a whole. But first, Taylor, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
yeah. So Taylor, I'm currently living in the San Francisco Bay Area, born and raised, and I work with passiveinvesting.com as an investor relations consultant. And so I'm covering the West Coast. So a lot of it is just raising capital and also cultivating a lot of our existing relationships that we have for our deals.
All right, beautiful. So let's talk about motivation. Of course, you're with a firm, so like you're not calling all the shots, but
Mm-mm.
let's get talking. The nice thing about going through motivation first is that if I ever have a guest who's a bit of a newbie to commercial real estate, they'll at least know their motivation, but maybe they won't know what role they're going to take. So I've got those 5 different motivations all here. The first one is preserving purchasing power. Okay, so what that means is that if you rely on your assets and the cash flow that comes from it to make your ends meet, your biggest fear is going to be inflation, because that's going to wear away at the purchasing power that you have. And so what you end up doing is you make up more and more acquisitions just to make sure that inflation doesn't ruin the party. The next motivation is my one, which is trading time for wealth. I've got a background in technology. It's CRM technology specifically, and all
Mm-hmm.
of the online funnels and lead capture, online sales, all that sort of fun stuff. But the problem with being a high wage earner is that you're paying the highest form of tax, which is income tax. So rather than giving away half of everything I make, I was like, well, how can I pivot where my effort is being returned with wealth? And so that's what I'm up to. The next motivation is the most frequently heard one, which is fast tracking retirement. Now, There are a couple of things that are implied in fast tracking retirement. Taylor, you look like you're pretty young, so if you say fast tracking retirement, it's gonna be like, okay, well, maybe you want to, get down to like 1 week a month or something like that. But retirement, that's just like not even on the radar. But the other thing that's really implied about fast tracking retirement is that there's an end in sight, okay, where you do want to reduce your workload. You're not going to hustle just for hustling's sake, unlike the next group who just wants to buy their entire hometown. Okay. The thing about these types of ambitious people who they want to create generational wealth, they're going to be hustling into their 90s, and they want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. So that's also in contrast to the last group, which is some people pick a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment or something like that, and they say, I really want to make an impact on that society. And usually accumulating wealth is the best vehicle out there to actually make that kind of difference. So if you're the type who perhaps you're going to do the Bill Gates and Warren Buffett thing of giving away 90 some odd percent of your net worth upon your death, this would be you. So of those 5 different motivations though, Taylor, what resonates with you as far as why you're doing what you're doing?
I would say the second one and then the last one, but instead of time for wealth, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, I would more put it the other way: wealth for time.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I mean, I never really wanted to always just like report to my W-2 job and wait till I'm 65 to be able to retire and have slave away just for 2 weeks of vacation. And not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, I love to decide how I want to choose my time.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to make those choices is really just what drove me. And actually that came from a particular experience when I was trying to be a professional dancer. I was actually on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I thought I made it. It was going to be really cool. I'd be able to, dance has always been one of my passions, is to turn that into a career. I thought that would be it. And so this was that one pivotal moment. I got onto the show. Choreographer never actually ended up paying me. And then like from there, I was just really starting to think like, hey, if this on this big of a stage, if somebody can take advantage of my finances and then also affect all the time that I spent on that, I don't know if this industry is really right for me. And so that was one of just the bigger catalysts that that projected and really just pushed my journey through. And then I would say that also bleeded into the fifth one that we were talking about, and just being able to help communities and help people. Because if I'm owning my time and I want to serve at a homeless shelter or domestic violence shelter, which I did in college, then I would do so without having to worry about being able to, make sure my family's paid for, my parents are okay, etc.
Right. And when we're working for a boss, we're giving so much of our time just to what they're doing that we often don't even leave room for getting those important things done in our own lives. So and the other thing too, as far as you talking about retirement, me, I was around for the .com bubble burst and the 2008 housing crash and all that sort of fun stuff. So I'm a big believer that unless you start exchanging your time for wealth rather than income, then you're not even leaving the door open for retirement. Which is what I do. So me personally, I'm not sold that I'm going to quit or slow down or whatever. Owning my own time, same as you, it's definitely something important, but I don't think you can do it these days reliably by just shooing away money from your full-time job. I think you really have to spend a lot of time researching and figuring out what to do, which is why we're all here, right? So if you haven't got much experience in commercial real estate, this should really help you out here. I'm going to go through the 6 different roles in commercial real estate so that I can find out what Taylor's core competency is. So the first role is repositioner, and man, is that glaring and bright. But anyway, a repositioner, cool. What you can see If I turn the lights down, much better. You can see that there are some buildings up here. So a repositioner looks at lots of different buildings, does a lot of different paperwork, and the biggest one is underwriting the property. And that means doing the math. It means figuring out, is the business actually making as much as the seller says it is? And then their other job is to make sure that they can find upside. And they have two main tools for finding upside. And the first one is operations. And so I've got these Benjamins going down the toilet here, but there's more to more than unclogging toilets and collecting rents to operation. There's also a leasing agent role, which is marketing, which is one of my fortes, but then other maintenance and things like that needs to be automated, which is also something that I do. But the repositioner will be saying, okay, if we can make more money that way, that's great, but real estate's so hot that isn't usually enough. So they're probably going to do some sort of value add. They're going to get a contractor team and they're going to improve the units so that they can charge more in rent. So the problem that a repositioner has, if they're like me and from the internet, then they're also going to need a local. And the local's job is to be accountability, making sure that operations are doing their job and that the contractors are using the right materials and they're not cutting corners and all that kind of stuff. And if you're a tenant, you'd probably see those four and say, oh, those are the owners. But of course, it's never that simple. You got to go to the banks too. And if you want to buy a building that costs tens of millions of dollars, you're going to have to go borrow probably tens of millions of dollars. And what they're going to want to know, the financiers, and capital raisers are a form of financier, by the way, but they're going to want to know who's your sponsor. And a lot of coaching, especially early coaching programs, they kind of gloss over the sponsorship piece, but you're going to need a sponsor if you want a loan. And even if you're Elon Musk, richest man on earth, you want to buy a 350 or 1,500 unit portfolio or complex, and you want to get a loan, you have to have somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. And then the other thing is you have to produce some liquidity, and there has to be a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Taylor, you said that you are in investor relations, which makes you sound like a financier. But you said that your site is a part of an operating team. But as far as that description there of the different roles, you know what you do and what your company does better than I do. So why don't you enlighten us?
Yeah, so passiveinvesting.com, we are the full-time operators. And so luckily, our managing partners, they have the balance sheet to be able to sign off all of our loans. So we focus on suburban Class A, Class B properties. Also, we have a self-storage fund as well. And all of these are institutional quality assets. Now, we have somebody who focuses on acquisitions, renovations, and the disposition of the property. We also have somebody that oversees our underwriting and financial analysis of all of our assets as well. I would say just within the frame that y'all were talking from the dice is where we step off is we have an asset manager that oversees the contractor and oversees the property management and the day-to-day on-site responsibilities of that property. So if I'm fully understanding correctly from all the dice, passiveinvesting.com has 4 of these 6: financier, sponsor, the disposition, and then the
Repositioning.
And the operations.
Right. So local, not necessarily then.
Local, yeah. Right. So local, not necessarily, just because we do buy in several different markets, all the Sunbelt markets, and then now we're diving into Denver, Colorado, and Boise, Idaho. But with our third property manager, they are nationwide, and so I would consider them more of our local boots on the ground partner.
Right. So then if you're always getting third party operations done, then you're going to have a larger buy box. And just so you know, when investors are talking to each other, we're really talking about our ideal property. It's what is easier to say yes to and what's more difficult to say no to. And so if you want to be really hands off, then there has to be, like, probably at least 100 units before you can have a full-time operations team that's third party. But what is your ideal property, as far as, like, if somebody's bringing stuff to you, bringing you guys a deal, what's a really great size?
A really great size. So, in the levels that passiveinvesting.com are playing at, there aren't that many sponsors that are operating at this level, just because of how large the asset class is. And just to give you some insight here, we're actually about to close on a property over in Fort Myers that was 109 million. And so our last 6 of our last 8 deals have actually been bought from developers. And so and part of that strategy is there's a nice little time gap, a profitability gap for us, and then also for our investors. When the developer finishes up, typically they are on an aggressive lease schedule, and then also they give out a lot of concessions, just because for the next buyer to come in, you can't buy a building when there's no residents inside of the building. And so they typically, purposefully lease the building under market, give out a lot of concessions, and then that's where we come in. So we have a little bit of a light value add portion. We organically grow rents, and then the end goal is then to sell it to either an institution or a REIT.
Okay. And then as far as geography and classes, you mentioned A's and B's, but like particular states or anything like that you got in mind?
Yeah, so the Sunbelt markets. So that's what Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and then also Texas. We are now, and like I mentioned, we're also adding Denver, Colorado, and Boise, Idaho as well.
All right, beautiful. And the best way to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Taylor Koo, last name is CU. You can shoot me a text, 925-998-4205. You can send me an email as well, taylor@passiveinvesting.com. Or if you just want to, you can just go to passiveinvesting.com as well. It's in the name. Check out our website. We got a lot of useful articles there. You can get access to our webinars. There's a really awesome masterclass that our director of investor education does every week. Super awesome content that is catered towards a passive investor to help them learn more about what it's like to invest either in a fund or a syndication.
And who's the best person to reach out as far as people who are in commercial real estate? And I imagine you guys have 506C offerings, so you can publicly advertise and say whatever you want. But if you ever do a B, then you're not allowed to do that. But right. So without breaking any SEC restrictions, who's the best person to reach out to you guys?
To be honest, yeah, sure. Accredited investors, I think, are fantastic. I think even anybody just really curious just to learn about the industry, whether you're an operator or you're looking to passively invest, I feel like this industry is just a place where everybody can network no matter which part of your journey you're on. And if somebody comes to me and they're more on the beginning stages, granted, I'm still early on in my stage, I hope to push them. And then if they're an investor looking to get into 506B deals, we're potentially, actually, no, we are definitely going to be having some later on this year. So, whether you're sophisticated, accredited, we're just looking to build relationships and add value to the community.
Just go ahead and reach out. All right, great. And I got one more thing, which is for you in the little piece of glass there, which is, if you look under my left hand where I'm pointing over here, you'll see this atrocity. It's so sad to look at. It's big, it's red, and it's awful. So the way to get rid of that awful red button is you click on it and it turns gray, and then it's wonderful. I like to call it the gray button of tranquility, because it means you've subscribed and it doesn't cost you anything at all. Okay. It's actually free, but it has a magical power. The magical power is that it means that YouTube will pay for this video instead of me. So pretty please with sugar on top, go ahead and hit that red button, turn it gray, and it really does actually make a difference. And you don't have to watch the only other effect is that my videos might show up in your list of suggestions, and you don't have to watch those. You've already done me an enormous favor just by hitting that subscribe button. And if you love this stuff, you can hit the bell too. But you've done me an enormous favor, and Taylor, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been great getting to know you better.
Yeah, it was great getting to know you as well. And, I'm looking forward to sharing this with my network and then continuing just to see what you're doing. I love what you're doing with Chance Encounters. And I think it's a great platform for the community. So I'm excited to see more of these coming out.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Dan.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. For Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious, and he makes it easy to come on with his questions and has a great setup. It's easy, it's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy, a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can. Just reach out to him.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the Chance Encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love Chance.